everyone, and welcome to the Snow Horse Marketing Podcast. We have a special treat today, a return visitor. Thank you so much, Cory, for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Sarah.
For those who may not know already, Cory is Cory Dunham of Cory Dunham Leadership. He's an executive coach and the CEO of BDB Marketing. So we're so grateful to have you here again today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, as your title and your company explains, we kind of want to talk a little bit about leadership, goal setting, and what really helps someone to excel in leading their company. So I guess I'll just kick off a question to you. When you meet with people, what do you recommend that they start with to kind of get that vision and goal of where they're going?
Yeah, I try to find out from them exactly, what's the reason, what's their why, as we've heard about Simon Sinek talking about what's your why, find your why, and your purpose. Because a lot of times people are really short-term focused, or maybe just focused on financial. Hey, I just want to make money. So really, really tap into some of those feelings and purpose and impact that you want to have long-term first, and then backtrack that to today so you can get things in play.
Well, and I'll just say it's so important to know your why because it tells you who you're working with and what you're doing, and it gives you the grit and the conviction to keep going when things are tough. I know ourselves, we're very selective who we work with at Snow Horse Marketing. And one of the things that we vet for in our, just our sales and onboarding process is values of the company. It's something that we really do vet for. And it's something that's very common as you get to the higher echelons of business and you're getting higher quality connections, higher quality customers. Those are the things that you get vetted for. Is what are your values? What are you standing for? What kind of work are you wanting to do? What is the trap that often people fall into where they're just in pursuit of that dollar amount? Like I want to make $1 million in revenue in a year, kind of a deal that I just hear a lot of, just even on Reels and TikTok and speakers, what kind of helps people get out of that mindset to more of a why mindset that Simon Sinek really recommends?
Yeah, that's actually a great question for me because I've fallen into that trap for years, thinking financial and money is going to motivate me. And for me personally, it has not motivated me, which is why I think it's so important that people figure out, exactly what passion, what are they passionate about? What impact are they going to have? Because maybe if whatever they're doing, they don't have that impact, time is very limited. Maybe you want to shift what you're doing or what business model that you're in. But some of the traps that you fall into is that you can be very shallow and you're only looking at the numbers. You're looking at a dollar sign on people's heads, on organizations, on your customers. So you don't really value them and creating value for what they need. And I think that's a huge impact on just how you serve people. Because if you treat people like human beings that have families, human beings that want to have a better life, then you're going to emotionally connect with those people. Otherwise, you just kind of run through people and not really be considerate of their interests, their values, their pursuits.
Yeah, I really love what Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about, kind leadership, empathy leadership. He's very much been outspoken about that for years before it was even a trend, And what I really appreciate about him is he talks about you got to do what you love. If you don't love it, you're not going to be able to keep doing it. And, so much of your life is spent in work. You want to be doing something that has value outside of a paycheck or a payday, I know in my own experiences, I'm grown up in Utah. There's a huge business entrepreneurship world out here in Utah, but there's also another side to it. There's a very selfish culture. I remember when Gary Vee came out to Utah, one of the only events he ever did in Utah. It was wonderful. It was a very validating moment in my career because I was struggling with what am I doing wrong? And he got up on stage and even said, this is a very selfish group of people. You need to start giving more. And that's helped me so much to realize, have awareness around me, But anyways, in this subculture here in Utah, there's often a lot of challenges with people not wanting to do business with you unless you're going to lose money. I mean, even just a month ago, I had just a jaw-dropping experience with a startup company. We're very selective who we work with, but we also have an incubator program that I would say we're even more selective with. So we don't work with many startups. But there was a startup that was very interested in working with us, was on the ball, doing all the things that could qualify him to work for us. And then at the very end, we're like, okay, we'll give you permission to come through. And he came back with a counter saying he wanted to do trades, very small amount of trade, in exchange for over $10,000 in marketing services. And again, it was an example of another Utah company. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I want you to succeed, but I'm not gonna, like, the company is not gonna lose money to work for you. And I feel like so many people, when they have that money mindset of, I gotta make money, I gotta, this need, this desperation mindset, they often make big mistakes. I mean, this company made a huge mistake in how they handled, we're now never going to work with them. We're just not, right? And it's nothing against them. We still hope the best for them. We still want the best for them, but they have set up the relationship with us in a way that we can't work with them, And so it's important to remember that, especially as growing business leaders, relationships matter. People matter. I really love studying different cultures that are very successful. And it's a known thing, like in a lot of Jewish cultures, if you do business together, it's so everyone wins. You don't work together unless everyone is going to make money. And I love that mindset. And I've really applied that in my business life. Like, we're not going to work together unless everyone makes money. And it's not about the money, it's about the mindset around that, the values around that.
Yes. And I actually want to add to that. I noticed you talked about a few different things. You talked about what brought up in my head, scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset, and also just having a generous spirit. And I think, because I've fallen trapped to this, and I've seen a lot of other people, if you're thinking from a scarcity mindset, then yes, you want to get as much as you can, as fast as you can, and you don't care as much if it's a win-win situation like you were just talking about. And everybody in the engagement. And if you're thinking scarcity, it's kind of a zero-sum game, rather than win-win means abundance is created, wealth is created all through ideas. So there's really no limited amount of wealth out there. It's just a matter of the ideas you have, how you implement them. And the more people you can engage, bring together, collaborate with, the bigger ideas, the bigger impact you can have, and the bigger things you can accomplish.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember in The Matrix, there's the scene where they're bending the spoon, right?
Yep.
And it really comes from I think it's a Buddhist monk philosophy of, you don't do something by forcing it to happen, but by allowing it to happen. And, and that mindset just expands your mind. I know myself, as I've worked with coaches and I've been in mastermind groups, there's so many conversations around that, like just challenging your own beliefs. I'm a huge proponent of journaling, making sure that you're documenting what you're doing so that you have like a base record. So you have that confidence in what's happened before. And I love getting into that place of flow, which is a mixture of like surrender and discipline. And so many people, they miss one side of that, right? Or they put in this desperation, I want to force this to happen. I've never been very successful whenever I forced anything to happen. It's never had an overwhelmingly positive impact. So what advice do you have, or do you give your clients when they are wanting to force something or have that desperation mindset? What tools and practices do you recommend?
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned, journaling. That's a huge practice I've adopted over the last couple of years and been consistent with it, because I have been inconsistent with it for even longer. But as I've gotten more consistent, you really get the awareness and the fine distinctions of some of the wins, some of your losses, some of the things that make you feel good, some of the things that don't feel so good, and you really can fine tune what that is. So taking a step back, not being so forceful, not forcing things, but taking a step back and maybe looking at the bigger picture and reconnecting once again back to your why. What is your why for doing this? And if it's hard to define that, you might need to take a little more time once again to somewhat work on your business and your purpose rather than working in your business. Because that's going to define, and especially if you have some long-term goals that are connected to your why and you're emotionally connected, that's going to really get you in touch with the activities that you need to be doing today, and some of the mindsets that you need to have. And you'll catch yourself, especially when you're journaling, or if you have these, like you said, mastermind groups and other types of meetings with your business coach or other people where you're just collaborating and just sharing what's going on. You can kind of catch, since you're not in the moment of doing things, you can catch some of those mindsets and attitudes that maybe aren't as productive and long term as it could be.
Oh, I completely agree. I feel this is not just applicable in business, but every aspect of life. I often tell people, like, I've learned more about myself doing business than anything else, because I feel like it's applying like personal development to real life. And it's such a wonderful experience when you allow it to be. It's such a fruitful experience. And I really hope for anyone going on that journey of entrepreneurship, of growing a company, there's a lot of different markers that people go through in the growth of a company that allows you to level up in a different way of thinking and seeing the world. And what an advantage it is for us. I mean, I really appreciate where I live and have been raised, that I have the opportunity to go through that scale. And I feel so many people go into business with just this, again, the scarcity mindset, this desperation of, I'm in business because I got to survive. And they miss out like on the bigger picture. So I love that you take your time to work with so many individuals, help them to grow and scale. If anyone is wanting to learn more about you or wanting to connect with you, what is the best way for them to do that, Cory?
They can go to my website, either corydunham.com, which is CORYDUNHAM.com, or BDB Marketing Design. That's BDB marketingdesign.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Cory, for being here again. We love having you here on this podcast. And to all the listeners out there, thank you again for listening in and joining, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Sarah.